Kim Seon-ho was once considered the new prince of K-dramas, the actor who won hearts with a simple smile. After the resounding success of Startup and Hometown Cha-Cha-Cha, he seemed destined to become one of Korea's biggest names. However, what should have been a continuous climb to the top became a long absence that still intrigues fans and critics today. We're in the middle of late 2025, but the big comeback that was promised still hasn't happened. Where is Kim Seon-ho? Why does his name continue shrouded in silence, even with confirmed projects alongside stars like Go Yoon-jung and Suzy? This question echoes in forums, social media, and among fans who follow the actor's every step. What we know is that his disappearance from screens wasn't by chance. There were controversies, there were falls, but there were also promises of redemption. In this video, we'll revisit his meteoric rise, the controversy that changed his life, and the behind-the-scenes details that may explain why his return still hasn't materialized. When the first news about Kim Seon-ho's return began to circulate, the general feeling was one of relief and anxiety. After all the turmoil that shook his career, fans were ready to welcome him back, believing that his absence had been just a strategic pause. And indeed, the announcements came with force. In 2025, Kim Seon-ho would be back as the protagonist of a new K-drama alongside the talented Go Yoon-jung, one of the most promising actresses of the new generation. The project was announced as the mark of his rebirth, a story that promised to show the actor's maturity. To top it off, shortly after came confirmation of another major project, already scheduled for 2026, alongside the iconic Suzy, a star who had already acted with him in Startup and whose chemistry captivated the audience. Apparently, the path was paved. 2 major projects, 2 heavyweight partnerships, and the chance to write a new chapter. However, as the months of 2025 progressed, something strange began to draw attention. The drama with Go Yoon-jung, which should have premiered this year, simply never got off the ground. No confirmed date, no official teaser, no consistent promotion. It was as if the project had evaporated in silence. And in the K-drama universe, when silence goes on too long, rumors start to gain strength. Fans began to speculate on Korean and international forums. Some believe the delay is due to production changes, script rewrites, or even problems with the broadcaster. Others raise the hypothesis that Kim Seon-ho's name itself still causes fear in the market, making producers and sponsors hesitate to risk large investments. After all, even with the scandal's retraction, the wound to the actor's image still hasn't completely healed. And meanwhile, the internet boils. Hashtags with Kim Seon. Ho's name constantly trend on Twitter, fans demand answers, and journalists specialized in the industry already point to the case as one of the great mysteries of 2025. Why has a production announced with so much prominence disappeared from the radar? Could the actor's agency be purposely holding back the release as part of a marketing strategy? Or could there be external pressures preventing his return? What's certain is that this prolonged absence generates frustration and further increases expectations. The 2026 project with Suzy remains officially confirmed, but it hasn't been passing without criticism either. The actor's casting for this role has also been heavily criticized, especially on the internet. The feeling is that Kim Seon-ho lives trapped between 2 realities. On one side, the immense affection of fans who never abandoned him. On the other, the shadow of a controversy that, even after years, seems to continue delaying his rebirth on screens. And I know it's impossible to talk about Kim Seon-ho's disappearance without touching the wound that forever changed his trajectory. But calm down. This won't be another rehash of that story you've heard a million times. Everyone remembers the scandal of 2021, an accusation from his ex-girlfriend, an avalanche of criticism, and the immediate cancellation of contracts and projects. The fall was so fast it seemed like a dramatic K-drama written by life itself. One day he was the public's darling, the next, a name no one wanted to associate with. But here's the detail many people have already forgotten. It wasn't just the accusation itself that hit him, but rather the way Korea reacted. The entertainment industry in the country has a short memory for successes and a long memory for scandals. And in Kim Seon-ho's case, one spark was enough for everything to turn into a fire. Brands broke contracts overnight. Programs erased his image as if he had never existed. And the media, always hungry for clicks, treated every detail as fuel for public lynching. Then, of course, came the turnaround. The ex-girlfriend admitted to having exaggerated in her statements, fans organized support campaigns, and even journalists acknowledged that the proportion of the case had been unfair. Only at that point, the damage was already done. It was no longer about truth or lies, but about image and trust. For an actor who was at the height height of popularity, losing that was like falling off a cliff without a parachute. And this is where the story gets interesting. Instead of trying to come back immediately, Kim Seon-ho chose silence. Many actors in his position would rush to give interviews, to accept any role to clear their name, but not him. He disappeared. He stayed on standby as if waiting for the dust to settle. It was a risky choice, but also calculated. After all, in an industry driven by public opinion, time can be both enemy and ally. What we see today is the result of that decision. The public no longer comments on the controversy with the same intensity, but its ghost continues to hover over his career. Each new announced project is accompanied by a silent question. Has he really been forgiven? The controversy is no longer told in detail, but it still exists as an invisible scar that shapes the perception of producers, broadcasters, and sponsors. In other words, the controversy of 2021 isn't just an unpleasant memory, it's a watershed moment. Well, at this point, everyone already knows that Kim Seon-ho didn't return to screens at the pace expected. But what few stop to think about is, could there be something much bigger happening behind the scenes? Let's look at the facts. The first point is the weight of the broadcasters. In Korea, channels like TVN, SBS, and KBS still wield gigantic influence, and none of them want to risk seeing a $1 million production boycotted by the public. There is, indeed, fear that Kim Seon-ho's image still divides opinions. And in this game, when an actor's name is considered risky, all it takes is one important sponsor to hesitate for the entire schedule to be put on hold. Another curious detail is how Kim Seon-ho's agency handles the situation. Unlike other companies that try to clean the image of their artists quickly, here the silence seems planned. No revealing interviews, no emotional lives, no exposure on variety shows. It's as if they're testing the public's patience, betting that the longer he stays off the radar, the greater the impact of his return will be. But this strategy has a price. Each month of absence feeds rumors that something darker is at play, and the rumors are plentiful. Some say the actor has been silently vetoed by certain power groups within the industry. It wouldn't be the first time this has happened. Korea has a history of actors who, even when cleared of accusations, ended up in the freezer for years due to political or corporate pressures. For some fans, Kim Seon-ho's case fits this pattern perfectly. Others believe the delay doesn't come from outside, but from the actor himself. Some defend the idea that he still doesn't feel ready, emotionally, to face the weight of a premiere. After all, returning after a scandal isn't just about acting again, it's about putting yourself back under the spotlight of millions of people ready to judge every detail. Could it be that Kim Seon-ho isn't simply buying time to strengthen himself before taking that step? Meanwhile, the projects continue to hover in the air like unfulfilled promises. The drama with Go Yeon-jung has become almost an urban legend, cited in forums as if it were a ghost of something that never existed. The project with Suzy is seen as the final big play. If it happens, it could rebuild his career. If it's cancelled, it could mean a blow difficult to overcome. The silence around Kim Seon-ho is a chess game. On one side, the need to protect his image and not risk a premature return. On the other, the pressure from an industry that doesn't forgive delays or mysteries. Whether this game is strategic or whether there's a veiled boycott, no one can say for certain. But one thing is clear. The more time passes, the more the feeling grows that we're facing one of the most enigmatic cases in recent K-drama history. But after all, what can we expect from Kim Seon-ho in the coming years? After so many ups and downs, the actor faces a future that could be either consecration or confirmation that his peak has passed. The first scenario is the most optimistic. If the project with Suzy, scheduled for 2026, actually airs, it will be a unique opportunity to rewrite his story. The partnership with one of Korea's biggest stars could function as a seal of trust, showing that the market still believes in him. If this drama succeeds, it will not only rebuild his career, but could also put him back at the top of award and international recognition lists. But there's also the other possibility: cancellation or indefinite postponement. If that happens, the impact will be devastating. Kim Seon-ho can't afford to see another project evaporate, because the public narrative is already tired of promises without delivery. In that case, his image could solidify as that of a promising actor interrupted, someone who had everything to be huge, but ended up defeated by circumstances. Between these two extremes, there's still a middle path. Many experts believe Kim Seon-ho could seek a gradual return, betting on smaller productions, supporting roles, or even debuts in independent cinema. This tactic, though less glamorous, has already been used by other actors who fell from grace and needed to rebuild their reputation brick by brick. The public may find it strange at first, but a quality role, even in a small project, has the power to change narratives. Another important factor is the international audience. Kim Seon-ho isn't just a name within Korea. He has legions of fans spread across Asia, Latin America, and Europe. Streaming platforms like Netflix, know the appeal he has outside the country. This means that even if Korean broadcasters hesitate, global giants might see him as a gold mine. A direct release on an international platform, for example, could serve as a shortcut to bypass part of the domestic judgment. On the personal side, the actor's silence is still an enigma. Without interviews, without significant public appearances, Kim Seon-ho remains an almost mythological figure, present in collective memory, but absent from daily life. This absence creates frustration, but also generates expectation. When he finally speaks or appears, the impact will be multiplied precisely by the void he left. Kim Seon-ho's future is at a crossroads. On one side, the chance of redemption with major projects. On the other, the risk of falling into oblivion if plans don't materialize. But there's one certainty. His story is no longer just about K-dramas or controversies, but about resilience and reinvention. And now I want to hear from you. Do you believe Kim Seon-ho will still have his big comeback? Or do you think silence has already spoken louder than any promise? Leave your opinions in the comments. And don't forget, if you enjoyed this video, leave a like and subscribe to the channel, because here we follow every step of Korean stars, and we don't miss any backstage details. Until the next video.